Paul was supposed to be a spatial planner, but now he codes. He will still code. Even if he go back to spatial planning, he still code. He speaks in Ruby, Cresto, it is still Ruby. Some Python, Elixir, because Erlang is strange. JavaScript and Haskell. And in his spare time, he is a fox chef trying to understand the science of molecular gastronomy through watching cooking shows. He believes supporting Manchester United gets you close to heaven. Lastly, he supports the Wenger out movement. Their concerns are genuine.
At least he left.
Give it up for Paul. He's a great guy.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So before I start, there's a number of things I need to get off my chest. One, this which I'm telling you is a secret. You see, William, the guy who was here before PJ, last year at the time like this, he didn't know Docker at all. His knowledge of Docker was just the way we have the knowledge of mass, in terms of pictures. But I'm glad he was able to know Docker, and to the point whereby he gave us an amazing presentation. Okay, so let me start. How many of you guys love food? Cool, you don't like food? Food, do you love food? Oh, okay, cool. So, how many of you guys have watched Parts Unknown, The Mind of a Chef? You need to watch those two shows right there. They are really amazing. So, early this year, after watching these shows, I wanted to improve my cooking, because I felt like my palate was really limited. Because if you look at the food I ate, is 8 items. So I normally go through this. It's like a routine. And I think that's the case of most Kenyans and Africans. Our food range is really limited. If you look at these shows, there's a lot of things that guys eat. Even there's this restaurant in, I think, Copenhagen by René Emet. So the guy has gone to the extent whereby he's discovering new cuisine through picking flowers and actually incorporating that in their food. Because we may think that in Kenya we can't really improve our food range, but it's possible. So this year I wanted to become a better cook. I tried, but I failed. So, fun fact is, I don't know any French. So, one of the things I learned was something called mother sauces. And there's a lot of other things about food that you guys, you need to know. And you can only do that through watching cooking shows. So there's this guy, he's called David Chan. He was in the first season of The Mind of a Chef. Now, one thing about cooking, you may think that it's just about going to a cooking school and the next moment you become a good chef. It's not that way. To become a good chef is a struggle, toiling, and sweat. For example, this guy and Anthony Bourdain, God rest his soul in peace, they started off, as dishwashers. To the point that this guy is one of the best ramen chefs in the world. And if you look at his story, he was working in Japan. He was working in Japan as a dishwasher in some small restaurants. But right now he owns a number of high-end hotels. High-end restaurants in New York and some parts of the world. So this talk is not about food. So this talk, I like to dedicate it to the memory of this guy. He was really amazing. Through the parts unknown, he actually took us to different cultures. Through food, he was able to create a world peace. I mean, he wasn't shy of criticism. I remember, for example, there's this show he did in Palestine. Despite being of Jewish heritage, he really didn't like the way the Palestinians were treated. I mean, he's also in Africa. I mean, he's been to a lot of countries. I think the shows us around 7 to something seasons. Though we lost him this year to suicide. And that tells us one thing, that depression is common no matter who you are. You may be famous today, you may be doing a program or anything. We all face issues such as depression. So if you feel depressed, seek help, try to get out there, talk to other people. Yeah. So how many of you have watched Star Wars? Man, those who haven't, man, try and do it. It's a really amazing show. So my talk is titled A Jedi Without a Master. I go by the name of, this is my handle in Twitter, all over the place. Whereby you need to sign up, this is the name I always use. So, if you've watched Star Wars, I don't know how this thing is being rendered. Maybe, is the font yet? Ah, cool. If you watch Star Wars, this is how almost all the Star Wars movies start. So this talk is not about Star Wars. How many of you know this guy? Man, if you don't know, this is the world's greatest villain. I think he comes second after MF Doom. No, not the rap persona. There's also the rap persona. He calls himself MF Doom. He's a great guy, great music. So this talk is neither about Darth Vader. That guy with the stand like this, it's called Darth Vader, for those who don't know Star Wars. So my talk is titled Jedi Without a Master. If you haven't watched Star Wars, these Jedi are super ninjas in the Star Wars universe. Their origin dates back to 25,000 before the Battle of Yavin. This is a palace that is common among the Star Wars nerds. So don't worry about the Battle of Yavin. These things don't exist. But they do to Star Wars nerds. So about me, I'm a Ruby developer at Tesla Business Solutions. Tesla is a niche service provider of software development, quality assurance, and software testing. Another fun fact is, you may ask why I knew William didn't know Docker last year. We actually worked together, and he left. I'm really glad he left, because I was made the team lead of the Ruby guys. Though I wish he could have stayed. We also with that guy there, Harrison. Put your hands, man. Cool. We are 3 guys who started off. And one thing I can tell you guys is, I actually got that job after a Ruby conference last year. Yeah, so these things are actually good. You can actually get opportunities, among other things. So in addition, that is my handle, as I said earlier. Initially, I trained as a spatial planner. Our job basically is to plan for cities. Though, if you look at how we romanticize spatial planning, you may think that we do a lot of amazing stuff. We actually don't do much. It's just telling people, don't build there, you can build here, among other things. So in my spare time, I watch a lot of football, the UK version, not the American. So my team are Gor Mahia, Manchester United, Juventus, and Atletico Madrid in that order. So I'd really like to know a little bit about you guys. How many of you are developers? Oh, cool. How many of you want to learn something new? Oh, thanks. Then I guess this talk is for you. The only prerequisite of this talk is you need to love food. Thank you. So this talk will cover the what, why, and how of self-teaching. So self-teaching goes by this other name called autodidact. That word is so complicated, I'll hardly use it here. But just know that for another fun fact. So some words of caution is, I take this talk with a pinch of salt. I'm not a self-teaching expert, though it's based on my personal experience and some stuff I got from the internet, so that you guys can actually spend time doing things that matter, not like going looking at how you can self-teach yourself. In addition, Sam is also an inspiration for this talk, because yesterday he told you guys how at 13 years old, he took up software development. Considering that he hadn't really gone through the tough maths that he needs to go through, maybe in Kenya we have the secondary school, there's the Form 1 to Form 4, so maybe he hadn't done that. It's amazing he actually picked that skill and became who he is, and I'm sure in the next 6 years he'll be a great guy, and software, in terms of software. So in life, if you want to learn anything, you have two options. You either go to a formal school where you'll spend money and time, or you can teach yourself. In this case, you just do effort and time. But one thing that you need to take up self-teaching is you don't need a formal school. You can actually do it yourself. You don't need to follow a particular system. You'll just, maybe considering school that you have to do maybe this topic and that, in most cases you find that some topic are not of interest. But through self-teaching you can actually choose what you want to learn. And all you need is a passion and some talent, not much. In addition, you need to love food, because I think with food you can do anything. So through self-teaching, you'll be able to position yourself strategically within your profession or anything that you put yourself into doing. If it's boxing, you can become a good boxer if you do this. And also, it can facilitate career pivoting. A case example is me, whereby I trained as a spatial planner, but now I'm a software developer and loving it. So among the guys who are actually self-taught, we have Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, not the Tesla guy of the semi-auto truck. Though, I mean, if you look at what Elon Musk has achieved, it's so great. I mean, having been, I think, physics major, but he's actually changing the world. At the moment, I think he's the Steve Jobs of our time. If you look at the things he's putting himself into, of trying to get rid of what do you call it? Oil dependency. So we are in the golden age of self-learning. Currently, the internet is all over. There's a lot of resources for you guys to learn from. The most important thing is, how will you grow your knowledge base? Through the internet, we are able to get access to infinite knowledge. Like the knowledge that is in the internet, you can't really finish. Even you can't, I don't know. Because right now you can actually go through Wikipedia and get an equivalent of a PhD in whatever thing you want to learn about. And through the internet has actually leveled off the playing field in the education sector. These days we have things such as MOOCs, open courseware. Guys are actually giving out incredible courses for free, MITs, Harvard. These days you don't have to actually go to Harvard to get a Harvard education. You can get it online and free. Besides being the knowledge economy that we are in, you actually do have to keep learning. I think all of us need to become self-taught learners. Our formal training notwithstanding, through self-teaching, we'll be able to grasp new ideas and knowledge domain that are foreign to what we do. So if you look at any craft, be it cooking, there's one thing that is constant. Mastery is a continuum process. You come from a novice, an initiate, all the way to the master. So we'll always be novice in anything that we try to take up. At this point, we'll actually not know much. The most important thing of being a novice is having an interest. When you have an interest in something, I'll use the example of Sam again. He's interested in software programming. That was the most important thing that actually propelled him to start dabbling in software. Then finding your passion. Some people spend their lives, but they'll never find what they like. There's nothing beautiful like finding that thing which you love. So if you find that thing you're passionate about, you can do this through preliminary investigation about guys who are doing it. Talk to people who are actually doing it. Go to meetups. As Fiji has pointed out, through meetups you learn new stuff. So after the novice, you become an initiate. One thing about this picture, these are called Padawans. So these are like young guys who want to become Jedi. They are children, in fact, yeah. So at this stage is whereby you act on your passion. This involves just actualize what you want to become. If you want to be a chef, buy a cookbook. A software developer, these days you have like tons of free YouTube videos, among other things. So this will place you in the path of that thing that you want to learn. So as an initiate, you'll always fail, but try and start again. Make mistakes. Get the errors that keep you from your laptops for days. This is what I experienced when I started doing Ruby. And one thing, I was doing it on my own. I didn't have a community, because I remember the day I started Ruby, I was staying in Kisumu. There was this thing called Lake Hub. It was like a group of guys coming together. We were like among the first guys into it. I think by then I was the only guy doing Ruby. So it was difficult to grasp some things. I considered quitting on a number of occasions, but I carried on. Then that was the point where I discovered Stack Overflow. And to this day, it has been a great help. I still use it. Most of you software developers, you'll always use Stack Overflow. Then you'll solve the errors, and that's the point where you laugh at yourself, finding that only a comma is one thing that has been troubling you for the last 1 month. But the most important thing is keep learning. Then you'll reach a point whereby you'll feel at home, where you go beyond the basics, speak like someone who's been in that place for long. And meetups are really important. Go to them. As a self-taught individual, you'll find that through meetups, you'll get to find other amazing guys who are doing incredible stuff. They'll push you, and they'll create this comradeship between you and them. And you'll make new friends. Someone like Mike Banter, we met through the Ruby meetup, and they are still my friends at the moment. So another important thing, just keep learning as well. And the most important skill you can ever get is learning how to learn. If you look at the school system, our professors normally give us about 20%. The rest, 80%, is about you. So getting the knowledge of how to learn will actually help you throughout your professional life and in different things. So with this, you'll actually become the best in what you do. You'll be able to pick new skills, emerging skills, new stuff, not forgetting on fortifying on what you already know. Now you'll reach a point you become an apprentice. As a software developer, but it's not this other apprentice. So as a software developer, this is the point where you get into the craft. It may be your first job, or if you're working in a given company, you go to a different department. So this is an opportunity that you actually put in practice what you learned. In most cases, you'll feel lost. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You'll feel that you're lagging behind. It's also fine. I remember the first time I got into the job that I'm at the moment, I just got this code base that I had no idea about it. Most of the time, we took I think 1 month to know about what it works, how it works, among other things. So I realized that I actually knew nothing about software development and Ruby. The Ruby that I know was, I don't know. But one thing that I actually learned is never feel that you're full. For example, story in this book called Apprenticeship Patterns, which is offer guidance for aspiring software craftsmen. If you actually want to become a good developer, look for that book. It's called Apprenticeship Patterns, Guidance for Aspiring Software Developers, Software Craftsman. So, in that book, there was this story whereby a student went to a master. So, the master was talking to the student and asking him about different things. This student told him that when the master was talking about this, the student will go on talking about how he knows about it. And as an apprentice, we'll find that we just have this knowledge about something. In most cases, we'll try and try to impress the other guys. But now this master reached a point that he lost patience because he seemed that the student didn't want to study anything. So he told him, let's break a cup of tea. So he poured himself some tea from the kettle. Then he started pouring tea to the cup for the student. Now, at some point, the student realized that the cup was full, but the master was still pouring the tea. So the student interjected the master and asked him, why are you pouring tea when the cup is full? Then the master told him, despite the cup being full, it's still taking the tea in as much as it's pouring. So you need to find yourself in a situation whereby don't accept that you're full. In as much as you know something, always leave room for learning new stuff. Make it easy for the masters to teach you. Even if you know something, pretend that you don't know. Maybe he'll give you a new idea that you actually didn't know. And as a professional guy, maybe a master, put yourself in a situation that you can actually learn something from an apprentice. Because there's also a lot of things that, as a master, in as much as you've done 20 years experience, there's some things you actually don't know. And at this point, I'd advise you guys, for example, if your company is working with a tech stack of things such as Elasticsearch, among other things. For example, I got in as a Ruby developer. I didn't know things such as Elasticsearch, Docker. I didn't know the SQL, Postgre. But I took this as an opportunity to actually learn these new technologies. And if you look at William, what he's done, I think he also did the same. So after becoming an apprentice, you'll become a journeyman. This is the point whereby you have to move out from that company you started on and start seeking other new opportunities, new challenges. As upcoming software developers, most of us will be driven by things such as money. But as a someone who's beginning, in as much as money is good, don't let that drive you. It can actually kill your career. So at times it will reach a point that you get an offer that is paying less than what you get, but it offers you the opportunity to learn things. There's nothing important like learning new things at the point whereby you are able to learn, because that is the only way you'll become a master in anything that you do. You may stick to where you are at the moment because of some good money, but you'll find yourself that in the next 2 years, someone who went the other way, he went for less money, he's actually being paid more than you because he decided to go to a place that actually allowed him to learn, pick up new skills, and to develop as a software developer. But I don't mean that you should just go, you should not be driven. Money is important. We need that cash, right? So another thing is any profession, we have this long road to mastery. The road is really long, and many people don't actually make it. So you'll find that a situation whereby most people end up as journeymen. Really few people achieve mastery in each and every craft that they take part in. But if you are able to take the long road, to put in the time, to learn new stuff, you'll achieve that. So a number of benefits of self-learning is it will help ignite the inner feelings that you have, the passion that you have. You'll actually actualize such. You will make new connections to different knowledge bases and skills. You'll be able to advance your career within or outside the organization you work in. You get to meet other people of similar DNA or genetics, and they'll actually propel you to become a better person in everything that you do. And another thing, knowledge, everything that you're taught today, even this talk that I'm giving you, the moment you leave here, it will become almost obsolete, because you'll find that there's a situation whereby new things are coming up. There are some things that you'll find that if you look at the field of science, there's always new experiments that debunk the previous held conceptions. So, as James Buck says, knowledge workers succeed not based on what they know, but rather than how they learn. So you always need to learn new stuff and keep learning as a software developer or anything that you choose to do. And also, there's this misconception that schooling is the only route to a great education. It's not. Self-teaching can actually give you an education that is also almost better than what schooling offers. As I pointed out earlier, lecturers only give you 20%. 80% is on you. And also there's the issue that the best students are those who passively accept what the curriculum offers. That's not the case. If you look at the greatest innovators of our time, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, we have Elon Musk. These guys actually didn't accept what the school had to offer. They had these, weird ideas. For example, if you look at Elon Musk at the moment, the things he's thinking about there's this proposal that he has where through creating 5 gigafactories, he'll be able to rid off the planet of dependence on fossil fuel. Such thoughts are hard if you are in school. But through self-learning, you'll actually achieve such things. And if you look at self-directed learners, unlike the others, when education or the job they have doesn't work, they decide to take up new stuff, new direction, and they decide to chart their own destiny. You need to take full responsibility of education, your career, and also the general life that you live. And one thing that holds people back in terms of becoming the best they can be, It's not intelligence or technique. It's the feeling of inadequacy which works at stopping how curious we become. Most of us with ambition, we fear that in as much as we are good, we are not good enough. We need to develop a growth mindset, no matter how smart or not smart you are. I think having growth mindset is the most important thing. And also, another thing is structure and accountability. As a self-taught learner, you need to have structure, which is a timetable that kind of guides you in what you do, and also follow it religiously. That's how you become accountable. And also, another thing is, most cases you'll find yourself that you'll feel you're learning in a vacuum. As PJ has said, is if you look at meetups, through meetups you actually get to go out there and find people who do the same thing. And that is the most important thing. In as much as the internet has this trove of information, the only way you'll make sense of it is through talking to other people doing the same thing. That's how you get to develop as a person and professionally. A number of basic lifelong learning skills. To be an effective self-taught learner, you need, among other things, define what needs to be learned. Know how to access and evaluate information. There's a lot of information out there. Be aware of the limitations that you have and work on, there's something called SWOT analysis. Businesses do that on yourself. Accept frustration and confusion as they are part of the process. Keep an open mind to the different points of views. Collect data on how you're performing through observation and feedback. And meta power is the most important weapon a self-taught learner can have. This is analyzing how you actually learn. It's okay to obsess and forget. You may like this technology, take it up and drop it. That's okay. And considering that learning is cyclic in nature, you don't have to get it the first time. You can actually always do it the second time. And with that, you actually improve on the knowledge you're getting. And also, we do face procrastination. For example, I always say that this year I'd do Elixir and Elang, though I find myself in a situation that I don't have the time to do it, but I'm trying. So, in as much as I try, I get in, I get out. But I hopefully by the end of the year, I'll know something about it. And another thing, you don't have to commit. Just start and see how it goes. You can also leave it. It's fine. That's all for today. Any question? Without question, it seems maybe either you've not understood what I've said or you've actually understood it.